Hello and welcome. I'm so happy to have you here with me. Really looking forward to just having a good conversation today about our intuition. We all have an intuition. Connecting to mine has been such a huge part of my growth. I wanted to speak a little bit more to it, kind of just about being able to connect to it and understanding just a little bit more from my interpretation of it, because I know for me, I've learned so much and become more aware by hearing from other people too. So I thought it would be fun to share today. One of the most important things to know is that our ego is not our intuition. These are two separate entities. And the way I describe it is that my intuition is also my soul. It's my higher self. It's the most authentic part of me. It's like the root of everything. Use whatever words you want. If those words don't resonate with you, use whatever feels good to you. But just know that if I say any of those, I'm referring to your intuition. Our egos are this other part of our minds that we oftentimes identify with, we think are ourselves, but in fact, we are not our egos. Our egos want to protect us. They are the part of us that actually are able to differentiate us from other people. It's what creates our unique parts of ourselves, our personalities, our characteristics. It's like the otherness. It makes us other compared to other people, places, anything outside of us. So it's an important part of us, but when someone's being driven by their ego, they're usually not that great to be around. They usually have pretty bad energy. That's where I believe a lot of the pain and hate and scarcity comes from in the world. From what I've learned and in my own experience, especially when I was really ego driven, I just wasn't aware of it. And that is why I believe that is one of the biggest keys for everybody, is that we're not aware. We aren't aware of ourselves. We aren't aware that we are not our egos, and we don't need to identify with our egos. The reason why we do is because of conditioning. If we didn't have exposure to recognizing that separation, then we're not going to. Because our egos want to be in charge, and as long as we let them, and we let them by not being conscious of the fact that we have another option. So as long as that's the case, then our egos are going to run the show. So that is why talking about intuition is so important, because we need to start becoming aware of our intuition to actually start leading from that place. Ways that you can recognize already would be, that gut instinct that you get sometimes, that feeling that you get when you know something is like an absolute yes or no, whether you listen to it or not. It is when your heart is telling you something that you are just so sure about. These are the parts of you that are communicating to you by your intuition. Your intuition is the all-knowing. It is the part of you that is the spiritual part of you. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Your intuition is the spiritual part of you. Your ego is the human part of you. That is also why it's so important to connect more to your intuition, because it's no wonder we feel like there's so many really bad things going on in the world right now, because it's so ego driven. There are so many people leading from their egos and just not conscious. That's why, to me, finding that time to get quiet and be able to connect to your intuition is so important. One of the reasons why this is also really important to me is because I do believe that every single individual adds to the whole. When we see something going on that seems so big or intense, how can just one of us help? How can just one individual person make any kind of change that could make a difference or matter? Well, I do believe that we absolutely can, because the whole is made up of individuals. If more individuals were connecting to their intuition, the world would be very different. Our countries would be different. Our states, our cities, our communities, our families would be very different. Whatever that macro looks like, meaning just more than just you, we are all playing such a bigger role than we realize. If we're being run by our ego and not our intuition, then most likely things aren't feeling so great. By connecting more to yourself, you're going inward. How much we are able to connect to ourselves is a reflection of how deeply we're able to connect to the world around us. There are so many ways for you to start connecting more and more to your intuition. And most likely, if you're watching this, you are already connected to it. But honestly, for me, I know that sometimes it is just like a muscle memory, and I need to remind myself sometimes. oh, that's right. I see a video, I see someone talking, I read it in a book. It reminds me to be more conscious. The more conscious we are, the more present we are, the more we are aligned with our intuition. The more we're able to be connected to our intuition, the more we are leading from that place, from our heart place, and we are then aligned with our highest selves. Our lives are going to respond to that. And what's going on outside of us is going to start reflecting what's going on inside of us. And nothing outside will change until what's going on inside changes. Something I've really been reflecting on recently is that I get these downloads, and I know they're from my intuition. They're just these knowings for me. Another way I like to talk about it is like an intuitive hit. They're messages from my intuition. When you're starting to try to differentiate, is this just my mind? Is this my intuition? Recognizing how you were feeling when you got that hit. Were you already in fear? If you were in fear, then that's your ego, your mind. But if you were in a peaceful, calm place and you get an information like that, and it's usually very subtle, that is your intuition. And as you start to recognize that, you'll be able to receive more and more clarity from your intuition. When I started connecting more to mine, it was a combination of different things that I was doing, different approaches. A huge one for me was doing a lot of deep internal work, especially around traumas, and starting to really peel that back and start to see who I am without all of that and take responsibility for my part in those things. Through that experience, I was able to realize that connecting to our intuition isn't about adding more or doing more or being more. It is actually about stripping away the limiting beliefs, the judgments, the ideas, the influence, the opinions from our ego and from the things outside of us that are blocking us from our intuition. You can do all sorts of activities, but ultimately it is by actually removing those things I mentioned layer by layer, piece by piece, like stripping away at the onion to actually get to what is in the center, which has been you the whole time. That part of you is who you were born with. It is the pure part of you from when you were a child. And it is the part of you that has been constant and with you through every moment of your life. But it is the things outside of us that have built and layered themselves and block each of us from connecting to that intuition, especially if we're not conscious of it. As much as, yes, some of that hard work is necessary because it allows for that. You are just as capable of finding presence and quiet in this moment, even after healing things from your past that have been really hard for you. Being present and connecting to your intuition is always available to you, and it is just as available to you as it is to anybody else. It's just that we need to be conscious of it, and we need to know and believe and trust that we are each as worthy, as capable to connect to it, because it's as much in each individual person as it is the next person. Every person has an intuition, has a soul, has a higher self, and that is the part of you to connect more to. For me, being able to be a little bit more conscious and more present has been also through meditation, because one of the reasons meditation is so powerful is because it actually quiets our mind. It gives us the opportunity to see how loud our minds are. There are moments when I will realize I'm halfway through a meditation and I have not paid any attention to the guided part of the meditation. I've been in my head the whole time. And so meditations are so important for so many reasons, but especially for that. Being in nature is so powerful for this also. If you are intentionally going into nature, don't bring your phone, don't listen to music, don't do anything that is going to stimulate you from connecting quietly to yourself. And I also think that just carving out a few minutes, even if you only have a few minutes to spend daily being quiet, not looking at your phone, not listening to music, not reading, not talking to somebody, whatever that is. Just having a few moments every single day to feel and remember what that feels like. We are so busy and we rarely slow down. We rarely give ourselves the time to actually do that. but we need to, and we can't wait for our circumstances to do it for us. They're never going to. Okay, I feel like I've shared quite a bit, and I want what I've said to be able to land. I know sometimes I can share a lot, and I want to maybe just add more in another video in the future, especially as I hear back from you. Your intuition is never going to lead you to something that is bad or scarcity or anything negative. It is always coming from a place of love and for the highest good of you and everybody involved. Keep that in mind, and remember that you are completely capable of connecting to or more to your intuition as anybody else. And it's simply about finding those present quiet moments and creating more and more space in between those thoughts so that you can be more connected to it, and removing the loud stimulation that happens outside of you so that you can start to connect more inside of you. If you just make the intention to do more of this, you will be able to do more and more, and you will start to remember more to do this. I know that's usually one of the hardest things, and even set a friendly reminder for yourself on your phone. I do that a lot for a lot of things, and I love it. I hope that you got something out of this video. If you did, please consider subscribing to my channel. I definitely look forward to talking about this topic in the future. It's one of my favorites, and I do believe that kind of everything else we talk about is rooted in our connection to our intuition, ourselves, our souls. The more you're able to connect to your intuition, the more you're going to start to see your life feeling so much more in flow, so much more fluid, and so much more just like, oh my God, it's like I don't even have to put any effort, and everything just keeps unfolding so organically, so seamlessly. I can't wait to hear from you about this topic, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.